So back in the spring, I had come across an article called, it was entitled, 9 Elephants in the Classroom That Should Unsettle Us, written by Will Richardson. I just kind of randomly came across it, just kind of glimpsed at it, and was kind of like, wow, he's kind of calling us out on a lot of these things. And since then, I've kind of used the stuff from that in a couple of talks I've given. So there are 9 elephants. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are a few I do want to hit. One, kids just aren't going to remember most of what they learn in school because they don't learn it. They remember it for a test and move on, right? How many of you in here remember the steps to meiosis and mitosis that you would have had in a basic biology class? Okay? Pretty slim, right? Okay? So there's some data behind this. So statistically, 25% of you don't know that the earth revolves around the sun. Half of you don't know that antibiotics won't cure a virus. And just under half of our high school graduates in the room don't know that the First Amendment to the Constitution guarantees the freedom of the press. Yet don't you think all of those were taught in school? They weren't learned. They didn't stick. They don't stick. I kind of fell out when I saw this data. I'm like, well, I need to use that. So that's one thing. Kids really don't remember what they learn in school. 2, kind of goes to some of those pictures. Kids are bored and disengaged in school. Across the country, kids are generally bored and disengaged. When we talk to folks that do walkthroughs around the country, shadow kids, they will see this over and over again. Now, I'm not saying their kids are bored and disengaged in every classroom at every given minute of the day. But as a general rule, across the country, what we find is that kids are bored and disengaged. So if I go back to the strategic plan, student preparation piece, student engagement is one of our key elements, because we know that we've got to engage learners. So this looks weird, right? So think about school. Think about what we do, or what you know about school. So at a certain time, we have this class. And then 90 minutes or 50 minutes or 45 minutes or wherever you go to school, you're going to move to this totally and completely different subject. And then a little while later, after whatever time period, you're going to move to the next one. And so on and so on and so on. And tomorrow when you come back, you're going to come back to the start. You're going to do that all over again. We teach in discrete subjects in discrete blocks of time, rather than integrating subjects and making time flexible. So, math and science are typically pretty interrelated. How can we integrate those 2 subject areas into relevant and meaningful coursework? Language arts bleeds over, writing bleeds over to almost any field. If I'm a kid that's excited about electronics, why can't I do my writing around electronics and what I'm interested in? Because if I'm interested in it, I'm probably more apt to do quality work around it rather than something that I really don't care about. Social studies, culture, language arts. We had a lot of things that bleed together, that could integrate. Yet our system is designed to teach in discrete subjects and blocks of time. Now, I will say, we do have some teachers that are playing around with combining classes and integrating subjects. So we like to see that and that relevance. So here's a big one. It's all about the GPA. You're more interested in grades than learning. Maybe that's why we don't remember what we learn in school. We remember for a test so that we can make a good grade and we can move on. So, you You think about that body measurement triad of the three numbers, whatever they are, 30-something, 20-something, 30-something, whatever that is. So we got the academic triad of ACT score, GPA, and class rank, right? So, you know, I'm a 34 ACT with a 4.0 GPA, and I'm ranked 2 in my class. And that's important. Why? The all-important dollar. We've got it ingrained in ourselves that we've got to get these things so I can get into college, so I can get a good scholarship, so I can go on to do the next thing and the next thing. So whether or not we as educators like it, the reality is parents and kids care more about the grades than what they're actually learning. Probably as a matter of fact, we reinforce that to a large extent. And we don't always assess what's really relevant, right? We move kids along in discrete subjects in discrete amounts of time. So what do we assess? Discrete bits of knowledge, especially on state tests that we don't get the results back for 6 months on. But one of the reasons we do that is it's kind of hard to assess stuff that kind of really matters and is relevant. This stuff is a whole lot harder to assess than whether or not a kid knows the steps of meiosis or mitosis or can manipulate the quadratic equation or knows why the American Revolution started. They call these 21st century skills. But I think most of us know these have been around for a long time, have been necessary for a long time. But if we've seen the job market change, these are becoming ever more important. Yet, we're still struggling with how to assess them.